Yo, what is up guys? This is a bonus video. This won't be the video for today. There will be another one, but I just wanted to answer a question I get all the time. Maybe people can go watch this video instead of asking me over and over again in Discord and in the video, in the streams. Okay, so the question is, why do I play Gladiator versus Champion on Corrupting Fever? And that is because I want to be a little bit stronger in the mapping department. So when you compare the two builds, I've got them up here. This is Ruetoo's Champion Corrupting Fever, and this is my Gladiator Corrupting Fever. When you compare the two, there is some pretty interesting differences in the way they're constructed and what they're good at. So I do want to go on record and say Ruetoo actually helped me improve my build this league, and I think that it's actually even now better for what I want to do as well. And that's all been factored into the guide, and I have a lot of appreciation for that. So overall, there's like, I don't like how people compare it and try and pit us against each other. It's not very nice. But anyway, I'm going to compare the builds here for what they're good at. So first of all, the Ruetoo version and the Champion is far more defensive. So if you're thinking about playing hardcore, Champion is the clear answer. And in addition to that, more defensive builds are better at bossing. There's just no way around it. They are better. So if you want to do bosses, or you want to, like clear your own Eldritch endgame bosses. So if you're thinking about doing like Uber Elder or Maven to get your own Watchstones, the Ruetoo version is superior. There's just no way around it. He also uses Enduring Cry, which is a very, very good tech for bossing as well. You can pop it, you can like, you can get all your life back. It's super duper good, and it's just going to be the better version for bossing. Now, on my version, I strictly tell people it is not a bosser. And the reason for that is because I buy my own carries for Maven and Uber Elder. You can do them. It's possible. With the damage, it's not a problem. You have the damage to do it, and you can do it as long as you don't get hit. But would I recommend doing it? No, I wouldn't, because you can just buy them. You can go in and you can do like 5 or 6 maps and just get the currency to buy them. And it's going to be way more fun because you're not going to have to deal with dying. And overall, it's going to be a way more smooth. So overall, I would say if you want to do your own bosses, you should play the Champion version. But if you're okay buying a carry, the Gladiator version is still pretty good. So that's pretty good. That's basically the main thing here. Next up, Ruetoo is deciding to get Suppression. I have foregone Suppression. I've abandoned it. It doesn't mean you can't still get some of it on gear, but with the nerf to it on gear and the investment required to get it, you basically have to be crafting your own gear. You cannot buy. It's very expensive to buy. You have to be pretty knowledgeable at how to do Expedition, or doing very specific stuff with Harvest, or you have to be spamming a lot of essences. Now, for me, I'm not that invested in getting Suppression. Yes, it's insane, I agree. Especially if you want to do bosses, because there's a lot of boss moves which are spells. In addition to that, there's a lot of stuff going on in maps, which is spells as well. Stuff like Lightning Mirage, Volatile, and the box, the Explosion Freeze blocks are all spells. But overall, it would have required me to reduce my power in other areas to get that Suppression. So I have not decided to go for that. If you want Suppression, again, Champion's here. It's much more defensive. You can see that just from the overall EHP here. This is without Molten Shell, of course. But overall, if you want Suppression, if you want to get more defense, if you want to do bosses, Champion is the go-to. You should absolutely be playing it. Okay, so what's the difference then? Why are you playing Gladiator? What could it be so much better at that would overcome those deficits that you just presented? All right, let's get into why I like the Champion more. I'm not saying it's better, why I like the Champion more. Okay, so first of all, the main thing I want to point out here is damage distribution. So I've given Ruetoo's build a few different items. So basically I've given him my jewels, which are triple damage jewels. I've also given him one of my clusters because it does increase his damage for basically no downside to his build. In addition to that, I also gave him a Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline. So that, just so that I can compare this specific point a little bit better. Okay, all right, so the first thing I want to talk about is damage distribution. So the Champion uses 3 damaging skills. It uses Reap, Exsanguinate, and Corrupting Fever. The Gladiator uses 2. It uses Exsanguinate and Corrupting Fever. So when you look at the damage number here, it is split between 3 versus 2. And the actual total dot DPS on the skill which I'm most interested in, Corrupting Fever, is quite different. So I want as much damage on Corrupting Fever as possible. And the reason for that is because that is the primary clear component of the build. If I can amp that up, In a lot of maps and a lot of scenarios like Legion, Delirium, I can go from using two kinetic blasts to one kinetic blast, and things will die just that much faster. And it can improve the clear speed of the build. Not necessarily always will, but can. So obviously there is an argument to be made that the explosions do a lot of the work, which is totally valid. But in things like Legion and Delirium, I have personally, in my testing, felt more comfortable with having higher corrupting fever damage. So that is why I prioritize that. And that is a massive point of difference in the build. So if you look at this number here, the full DPS, when it comes to the actual application of that DPS on monsters, large packs of monsters, so think about a magic monster pack in a Delirium Mirror scenario, and that magic monster pack is buffed by the map modifier, reduced physical damage taken. I value being able to hit that pack and one-shot it with my corrupting fever. Now, if you look at the champion version, its damage has stuff like Reap associated with it, and Exsanguinate is a big portion of that as well. So when you're thinking about Reap, that is not something that is going to hit everything in front of you. Now, it's not a problem. On single target, it's not going to be a difference. But on the AoE, it is going to be a little bit of a difference. So that is one of the things that I value quite highly with the Gladiator version. I can get much higher corrupting fever damage, which can feel a little bit better in the mapping department. All right, so now that is out of the way, there is nothing left to talk about there. Obviously, the trees as well, I have gone for a lot more damage. And the reason for that is so that I can kill stuff like the Legion Generals, and also kill the map bosses, and also not have to worry as much about rolling stuff like reduced physical damage taken, more monster life, and stuff like that on the map without, because basically what I like to do is chisel, alch, and val, and I don't like to not run maps because that puts pressure on map sustain and stuff like that. And overall, I'd rather have more maps to sell, which would be quite good for me at least. So overall, that is the reason why I have decided to change the damage profile. Well, not necessarily change, but my damage profile is different, which is just a big important point to note here. On the speed here, so a lot of people seem to think that Champion is faster. I personally don't think Champion is faster. Just looking at this number here, it is like, okay, well, I think that the Gladiator is a little bit faster, actually. We do have adrenaline tick here, and the reason I think the Gladiator is a little bit faster is because you get increased action speed. Now, action speed actually multiplies stuff like your boots. It also multiplies stuff like inspired learning buffs, which I am running in my build. That's another difference between the two, which is very important for the way I like to play. I like to get the movement speed and run around fast. I like to run around on my characters as well. That is going to be another point. I think it's just more fun, and that's the way I like to play. But I digress. It's not a big change in terms of the movement speed. It's not a big selling factor, but for the little part that I really like that, a little bit more speed for me. It also, in the new patch, opens up the opportunity to go for the Death Rush ring early before you get a Circle of Guilt on my build. Okay, so that's that out of the way. Moving on, I will say the Ruetoo version is cheaper than mine. There's no doubt about it. Uses 2 less clusters. Also doesn't use Circle of Guilt. Everything else is pretty similar though. So the prices are going to be reasonably similar. But probably mine costs probably like 4 or 5x more in today's economy because of the clusters, because of the Circle of Guilt. Maybe it costs a little bit more than that. Maybe like 6 exalts more. So that is another difference there. Okay, so those primarily are the main differences, but when you actually take a look at the ascendancies, obviously there is a pretty glaring difference in that the Gladiator has gratuitous violence versus the Champion, which uses hemophilia. Which is here. So the hemophilia is a 5% bleed explosion, and the gratuitous violence is a 10% bleed explosion, which overall in general mapping, if you are not doing juice content, like if you're not doing legions, if you're not doing delirium, you probably won't notice. It probably will not even be noticeable to you. You may notice it on stuff like essences. So routinely as a Gladiator, when you get the double essence node, which duplicates the essences, you will notice that when you kill one essence a little bit faster than the other, it will instantly pop the other essence. Even if it's like at half health, it will instantly kill it. That's just the way it seems to function. I don't know how this experience is on Champion. It may be the exact same with the gloves, but on Gladiator, I do value that. Similarly with the bosses, if you have like multi-boss and you kill one of the bosses, it's like boom, it blows up, Okay, it's like you kind of get the point. All right, so those are the primary difference between the two. Okay, just to kind of tie this up in a nice little bow, the champion is definitely the better all-rounder. It's definitely more defensive, and if you hate dying, you do not like dying, play the champion, and it's definitely going to be better for that. And you can overall, like do some bosses. It'll be really fun, and both of the builds have really good guides. The Gladiator, if you want more damage and you want to do mapping stuff like really early legions, really early delirium mirrors, really early delirium orbs, like that kind of stuff, then this could be a potential option for you instead of the champion, maybe. Now, obviously, I would not recommend doing your own Uber Elder and Maven. I would recommend buying carries for them, but as a mapper, you will have the currency for that. It's not really a problem. Overall, that is going to be the comparison. I have a lot of respect for Ruetoo. I believe the original Corrupting Fever did in fact come from him. I will go on record and say that the way I obtained the build, I believe, was from a viewer who showed me Corrupting Fever Tornado Shot, which was a derivative of his original Wanda version. All right, so with all that said, I should be in the clear. That is the reason for playing Gladiator versus Champion, and that is the main differences. I might have undersold the Gladiator a little bit here for the mapping. I think it does feel pretty fun and pretty good. On the topic of shield charge, I will just say I don't use it purely because I don't like it. You can totally use it on this build as well. You can just slap it in here. You won't need dash most of the time unless you're like strictly running a map which has a lot of up and down elevation. But even then, you should be fine to just use shield charge. Like if you're running short, there's like up and down ramps. So it's like not a really big problem. It would only be like, I can't even think of a map which would need this. So you can run shield charge. It's not a problem. Don't even worry about it. Anyway, with all that said, hopefully this doesn't offend anyone. Hopefully you guys have a better idea of which one to pick now. They're both very good. If I was playing in solo self, well, maybe not solo self. If I was trying to do bosses, then maybe I'd consider playing the champion as well. But I just really like mapping. That's what I want to do, and that's what I've built my character to do. So with all that said, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Look out for the other video today. See ya.